Picture this. A man goes in for a routine checkup. He feels okay, maybe a little more tired than usual, maybe getting up once or twice a night to use the bathroom. Nothing that seems worth worrying about. A week later, the phone rings, and his doctor tells him his kidneys are only working at about a third of their normal capacity. No pain, no warning signs he could point to. Just quiet, gradual failure that had been building for years. That story isn't rare. It's actually the norm. Your kidneys can lose more than half their function before you ever feel anything is wrong, and by the time symptoms show up, a lot of the damage is already done. So today, I want to walk you through 10 everyday habits that quietly wear your kidneys down, and more importantly, what you can do instead to protect them starting today. Before we get into the list, let's take 30 seconds to appreciate what these organs actually do, because once you understand their job, the rest of this video will make a lot more sense. Your two kidneys, each about the size of a fist, filter your entire blood supply roughly 40 times a day. They decide what stays in your body and what leaves. They balance your sodium, potassium, and calcium. They control how much fluid you're carrying. They help regulate your blood pressure. They activate vitamin D, and they clear out metabolic waste products that would otherwise build up and poison your system. It's an enormous, non-stop job, and because the kidneys have so much reserve capacity, they can be quietly struggling for a long time before a standard blood test even flags a problem. With that in mind, let's get into it. Here are 10 daily habits that can chip away at that capacity and what to do instead. Habit number 1, overusing over-the-counter painkillers. If you reach for ibuprofen, naproxen, or similar anti-inflammatory painkillers every time you have a headache, sore back, or muscle ache, this is worth paying close attention to. These medications work by blocking certain prostaglandins in the body, but some of those same prostaglandins help keep blood flowing properly to the kidneys. When you take these drugs regularly, especially at higher doses, you can reduce blood flow to the kidneys over time, and in people who are already dehydrated, elderly, or have existing kidney issues, this can tip things into acute kidney injury or accelerate chronic kidney disease. This doesn't mean you can never take a pain reliever again. Occasional, appropriately dosed use for something like a headache is very different from taking these pills daily for chronic pain. The habit to watch for is routine, frequent use without medical guidance. If you're dealing with ongoing pain, it's worth talking to your doctor about alternatives. Acetaminophen is generally considered gentler on the kidneys, though it has its own limits and isn't right for everyone. Physical therapy, addressing the root cause of chronic pain, and anti-inflammatory nutrition strategies can also reduce how often you need medication in the first place. And if you do need an NSAID now and then, stay well hydrated and never exceed the labeled dose. Habit number 2, eating a high sodium, heavily processed diet. Sodium is sneaky. Most of it in the average diet doesn't come from the salt shaker. It comes from processed and packaged foods, canned soups, deli meats, frozen dinners, fast food, chips, and condiments. Excess sodium raises blood pressure, and elevated blood pressure is one of the 2 leading causes of kidney disease in adults. On top of that, heavily processed foods are frequently linked to a meaningfully higher risk of developing chronic kidney disease over time, independent of sodium alone, likely because of the combination of additives, low fiber, and poor overall nutritional quality. The fix here isn't complicated, even if it takes some habit building. Cook more meals at home so you control what goes in. Read labels and compare sodium content between similar products. You'll be shocked at how much it varies. Flavor food with herbs, spices, citrus, and vinegar instead of relying on salt. And build your plate around whole foods, vegetables, whole cuts of meat and fish, legumes, and grains, rather than prepackaged convenience foods. Your taste buds genuinely do adjust over a few weeks of eating less salt, and food that used to taste bland will start to taste like plenty. Habit number 3, letting blood sugar run high day after day. Diabetes and prediabetes are, together, the single biggest driver of kidney disease worldwide. High blood sugar damages the tiny blood vessels inside the kidney's filtering units, called glomeruli. This damage doesn't require a diabetes diagnosis to start. Elevated blood sugar and insulin resistance can begin harming these delicate vessels well before blood sugar crosses into the diabetic range on a standard test. The habit that causes the damage is simply not knowing where you stand, or knowing and not adjusting course. If it's been a while since you've had blood work done, get a fasting glucose and an A1C test, which reflects your average blood sugar over roughly 3 months. If either one is trending upward, that's useful information, not a life sentence. It means the earlier you act, the more room you have to turn things around. Reducing refined carbohydrates and added sugars, increasing fiber and protein at meals, walking after eating, and building regular movement into your day are all well-supported ways to improve insulin sensitivity and protect the vessels inside your kidneys. Habit number 4, ignoring high blood pressure. High blood pressure is the other major cause of chronic kidney disease, and it's especially dangerous because it so often has zero symptoms. Persistently elevated pressure puts extra mechanical strain on the small blood vessels inside the kidney, gradually damaging their ability to filter effectively. And here's the frustrating part. Kidney damage can also raise blood pressure, which then damages the kidneys further, a cycle that gets harder to break the longer it continues. The single most useful thing you can do is simply know your numbers. Blood pressure monitors are inexpensive and easy to use at home. If your readings are consistently elevated, that's worth a conversation with your doctor about lifestyle changes. And if needed, medication. Untreated high blood pressure is far riskier to your kidneys than a well-managed prescription. Alongside medical care, reducing sodium, maintaining a healthy weight, staying physically active, moderating alcohol, and managing stress all genuinely move the needle on blood pressure. Habit number 5, not drinking enough water. Chronic mild dehydration is one of the most underrated habits that stress the kidneys. When you're relying on coffee, soda, and other beverages instead of water, or you simply forget to drink throughout the day, your blood volume drops and becomes more concentrated. That makes the kidneys work harder to filter the same waste out of less fluid, and it increases the concentration of minerals that can form kidney stones. You don't need to obsess over a specific number of glasses. Needs vary by body size, climate, and activity level. But a simple, practical rule is to notice your urine color. Pale yellow generally means you're well hydrated. Consistently dark urine is a sign to drink more. If you sweat heavily from exercise or work outdoors, plain water plus a source of electrolytes, not just sugary sports drinks, helps you actually retain the fluid you're drinking rather than losing it right back out. Habit number 6, regularly drinking sugary beverages. This one deserves its own spot, separate from processed food in general, because sugar-sweetened drinks, soda, sweetened coffee and tea drinks, and fruit juice concentrates are uniquely easy to overconsume without noticing, and they've been specifically linked to a higher risk of kidney disease in multiple studies. Regularly drinking soda has also been associated with markers of metabolic stress that affect the kidneys over time, independent of the calories involved. The straightforward fix is to make water your default beverage and treat sugary drinks as an occasional choice rather than a daily habit. If plain water feels boring, infusing it with citrus, cucumber, or mint, or switching to unsweetened sparkling water can make the transition easier. If you drink juice, favor whole fruit instead. You get the same vitamins with fiber that slows down sugar absorption, and you're much less likely to overdo it the way you can with a large glass of juice. Habit number 7, smoking. Smoking damages blood vessels everywhere in the body, and the kidneys are no exception. It reduces blood flow to the kidneys, accelerates the progression of existing kidney disease, and is linked to higher rates of protein appearing in the urine, an early marker of kidney damage. It also raises the risk of the 2 biggest kidney disease culprits we've already talked about, high blood pressure and diabetes. If you smoke, quitting is, without question, one of the highest impact things you can do for your kidneys, your heart, and essentially every other organ system. It's genuinely hard, and nicotine dependence is a real physiological process, not just a matter of willpower, so use the support that's available. In the US, the National Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT NOW, and resources like smokefree.gov exist specifically to help people through it, and combining support resources with a plan tends to work far better than trying to quit cold with no backup. Habit number 8. Heavy or frequent alcohol use. Alcohol disrupts the hormones that help your kidneys regulate fluid balance, and it dehydrates you at the same time it's raising your blood pressure, which is a rough combination for kidney health. Regular heavy drinking has been linked to roughly double the risk of chronic kidney disease compared to light or no drinking, and binge drinking specifically can trigger acute kidney injury. Lower. If you're noticing that your drinking has crept up, or that cutting back feels harder than you'd expect, that's worth an honest conversation with a doctor who can help without judgment. Habit number 9, staying sedentary. A sedentary lifestyle doesn't damage the kidneys directly the way, say, high blood pressure does, but it's a powerful multiplier of nearly every risk factor we've already covered. Inactivity contributes to insulin resistance, weight gain, elevated blood pressure, and poor circulation, all of which land right back on the kidney's doorstep. The good news is that the bar here is lower than people assume. You don't need to become an athlete. Consistent, moderate movement, brisk walking, cycling, swimming, or similar activity most days of the week, measurably improves blood sugar control and blood pressure over just a few weeks. If you're currently doing very little, the biggest jump in benefit typically comes from going from almost nothing to something regular, not from turning into an elite exerciser. Start with a short daily walk and build from there. Habit number 10, skipping checkups and ignoring chronic stress. The last habit is really two closely related ones, neglecting routine blood work and letting chronic stress and poor sleep run unchecked. On the checkup side, kidney disease is often called a silent condition for a reason. A simple blood test measuring your estimated glomerular filtration rate, or eGFR, along with a urine test for a protein called albumin, can catch declining kidney function years before you'd ever feel a symptom. If you have risk factors like diabetes, high blood pressure, or a family history of kidney disease, ask your doctor how often you should be tested. For many people, this is a simple annual addition to a standard physical. On the stress and sleep side, chronic stress keeps your body running in a state of elevated cortisol and sympathetic nervous system activity, which nudges blood pressure up and promotes inflammation and insulin resistance, the same pathways we've talked about all video. Poor sleep does something very similar. Neither one damages the kidneys instantly, but both quietly load the dice against you every single day they go unaddressed. Building in real recovery, consistent sleep hours, movement, time outdoors, and some kind of active stress management practice like slow breathing, a short walk, or meditation isn't a luxury here. It's part of the same protective system as diet and blood pressure control, bringing it all together. If you zoom out, you'll notice these 10 habits aren't really 10 separate problems. They cluster around a handful of core themes: keeping blood sugar and blood pressure in a healthy range, staying properly hydrated, minimizing unnecessary chemical and dietary stress on the kidneys, and giving your body the checkups and recovery time it needs to catch problems early. You don't have to overhaul your entire life today. Pick one habit from this list that hit closest to home and start there. Small, consistent changes, sustained over months and years, are what actually move the needle for an organ that works this quietly and this hard on your behalf. If you found this useful, you'll probably get even more out of related videos on blood pressure, insulin resistance, and reading your own blood work. And if you want to make sure you don't miss those, you know what to do. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.